Heads up, it's the Roll Jays podcast, the voice of the Creighton basketball fan. With your hosts, Jimmie Allen, Alex Drake, and Casey Matthews. Join the crew and meet CU players, coaches, and a whole lot more. Now, the Roll Jays podcast. Here's Jimmie Allen.
It's all tied up in Philadelphia. The Jays and the Wildcats knotted up at 29. Jimmie Allen, Casey Matthews, Alex Drake with you here on the Roll Jays podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. Guys, they've done a really good job of keeping Eric Dixon in check early in this one. Mainly Jason Green on the defensive end getting that done. Casey, what do you think of Jason's defensive prowess in this first half?
Yeah, I think it's huge to be able to have a guy like Jason that can guard like that. I think for a couple different reasons. One, I think it keeps Caulk a little more fresh. And, Eric Dixon has such a low center of gravity. He's so strong that it does wear on you over the course of a game. And with the amount of minutes that we want Caulk to play, I think that's super helpful. And obviously Eric is a great player, can go off the dribble, can shoot from the perimeter, and just having defensive versatility like that from Jason, I think is huge in a matchup like this. And then when Jason's out and Caulk switches on to him, it's a different look for Dixon at that point too. So you're giving him a couple different looks. You're kind of wearing him down a little bit, but you're keeping your most important piece fresh. I love it.
Yeah, and you're throwing bodies at him in a different way, right? I mean, that's one thing that we've seen people do for Kalkbrenner is they just throw bodies at him. And throwing it at Dixon in a different way where he is getting that different look. Not only are you keeping guys fresh, but you're giving him that different look. You're making him think a little bit more. That three that he hit over Jason was shot difficulty 10 out of 10, right? I mean, Jason's there,
leading scorer right there.
Yeah, Jason's right there. Like you got to give it to him. He got on a little bit of a run there late. He got a couple of drives to the basket and things like that. But I think the story of the game for Creighton right now is they're not shooting the ball from three very well, and they started off pretty poorly from the free throw line. They finished strong. I thought Ty Davis played phenomenal in his minutes with Stephen Ashworth on the bench with foul trouble too.
Yeah, and Jays right now just 1 of 14 from beyond the arc. Alex, you pointed it out. Stephen Ashworth picks up 2 really quick fouls in this game. That sends Ty Davis into the equation. Ashworth just played 12 minutes, his lowest minute output since becoming a Blue Jay. But I think Ty Davis handled the difficulty really well. I mean, he did have the 1 3-point shot that kind of somehow ended up in the state of Ohio shooting it for Philadelphia. But listen, I mean, that's going to happen. He hasn't played this many minutes since becoming a Blue Jay. But I was really impressed with his ability to kind of manage the situation and play well. And just 1 turnover in that equation. He is 1 of 2 from the field. But listen, Jemiah Neal's got 4 right now. So, I mean, when you got a freshman point guard out there that's not making as many mistakes, I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, the one thing you got to look for with him, though, is I was happy with how he played. The one situation that he has to just work on is just trusting himself as the point guard. You see him give the ball up really quickly, like the play that he gave the ball up to Jason Green right pretty much at half court, and then Jason gets trapped. They get the jump ball, and it's Villanova ball. And
Jason clearly wasn't expecting it.
Right, that's on Ty. You're the point guard. If you're getting pressure. You've got to be able to handle the ball and get us into the offense. And certainly there's times where you're going to give it up, but he wasn't doubled. He gave it up and just because he wanted it out of his hands. What I'd like to see Ty do is take the next step and have the confidence in himself to make plays and to make mistakes because you're not going to get better unless you make those mistakes. So I do like what I've seen so far from him. I just want him to get more confident, and it just comes with time. And he's young and he's going to be a good player. So,
yeah, and to your point, Casey, that pressure look that they were showing, guards especially, but kids learn how to attack that and back dribble out of it at half court before they cross the line in every basketball camp starting in like the 5th grade, right? So it's just, to your point, just him not being totally confident there. But I also don't want Jason Green, who's been a big his entire life, being the guy to try and do that either.
Right. Yeah. That's one of those where like they'll watch the tape. That's not on Jason. That's squarely on Ty. But again, he's young. He's going to make those mistakes. But you just hope that he learns from them. And as long as he learns from them, Mac's fine. If he keeps making that mistake, he's not going to have these opportunities.
Yeah.
One guy that's been a key cog in the wheel for Creighton over the past couple games is Isaac Trout. He's 0 for 3, 0 points, and has 1 turnover. And he's played well at home, but a struggle here in Philadelphia. That's a guy that I think Creighton really needs to get going here in the second half.
Yeah, I totally agree. That 4 spot has to give you a little bit of offense, and I don't think it's going to come from Jason unless it's around the rim. But if the 4 spot can stretch the floor a little bit for us, it would certainly help. I really think the biggest issue is just the turnovers offensively. We gotta cut down on the turnovers. But I agree. If Isaac can give us a few points here and there, Fedor. I thought both of Fedor's looks were good. You just got to knock them down.
That first one, Casey, I agree. I like them both. That first one, though, I kind of want him to take a balanced dribble because he was looking to pass originally. That's my only critique there. His pass to Jemiah, where Jemiah took the 3, I would have liked to see him kind of try and turn the corner a little bit too to put pressure on the rim. I thought Jason Green did a good job of putting pressure on Villanova offensively with their cross matchup early. But what you're missing for the last 10 minutes is Stephen Ashworth's ability to back out of that high hedge and that hard double or whatever they're doing and still finding Kalkbrenner. That's what you're missing that last 10 minutes that would have allowed them to stretch the lead, unfortunately. Bad blocking call on Steven there to get him his second foul, but that's just the way it goes. I thought Jemiah, apart from the turnovers, has been solid. Got to make that free throw, but other than that, man, I don't have a ton of critiques other than you're not making your shots.
Yeah, and Creighton's gotten some pretty good looks up until this point. You guys pointed out the 2 Fedor looks, which you get one of those back, you get a lead going into halftime, right? But no, Alex, I'm with you. I think the lack of ability to get Kalkbrenner the ball. He started off with 9 points in the first 10 minutes, just the 1 free throw since then. So they got to find a way to get the big fella down low going again. And we'll get to our keys to the second half. This is the Roll Jays podcast brought to you by Pyramid Contractors and Pixel Fire Marketing. Casey, what's your first key to the second half?
I think we got to get it going from the perimeter. What I'd like to see us do more is, and I say this a lot, but just stay spaced offensively when the ball goes in the post. They're going to double. So if they double, I'd like to see some backside screen in action to where because what's happening is the other help defenders are creeping in a little bit more as well. So I think you can screen those guys in and look for an open 3, maybe from a Jemiah, from a Isaac, something of that nature. So I think we got to get it going from 3 and then just can't turn it over.
Alex, keys to the second half?
Yeah, I think you got to find a way to push the issue without turning it over. I thought they did a good job of getting into the transition game off of misses early on. But then even late in the half without Steven, they started to turn it over. They had that stretch of 3 or 4 there that took the 5 or 6 point lead down to a tie. So I think you got to find a way to push the issue, and then you got to find a way to create space on offense, not just stay space, but create space so you can create the driving lanes for Jemiah, which will eventually lead to more open looks. And then like Casey said, you got to knock down the 3s, and of course find a way to keep Eric Dixon in check in the second half.
My key is 2. You have to have more than 1 3-point shot made in the second half. They're just 1 of 14 in that first half. And Casey, you pointed it out. Stephen Ashworth not being in the game is probably the biggest reason for all of that. You got to keep number 1 out there. He's such a key cog to making this wheel spin. And if you have him out there, you're probably better than 1 of 14 from 3-point land. This has been the Roll Jays podcast brought to you by Pyramid Contractors and Pixel Fire Marketing. Don't forget, you can donate to the Creighton's NIL Collective, the Bird Club, just by scanning the QR code next to Alex Drake's ugly mug up there in the top right corner. All proceeds will benefit your favorite athletes at Creighton University, as well as benefit this podcast. All 3 of us back on the radio tonight, 1620 The Zone, 1620 The Zone, 1620 The Zone mobile app. You can catch us with our thoughts on the game. Get your calls in. Casey and I took 5 phone calls very quickly after the win over Xavier. Hopefully we're talking about another win today. We'll see you guys on the radio. Thanks for joining us here on the Roll Jays podcast. Go Jays.